Let's have an honest conversation about how you talk about what you do or the business that you're running. One of the things that I spend a lot of my time talking about is language and communication and messaging. My business is really focused on the things that we talk about and how we describe them. And what I find most interesting is that for so many of my clients, they're stuck in the language they use. They're stuck in a language of business, a language that actually doesn't serve anymore. I'm working with a client right now that I think is a really great example of that. This person comes out of the advertising industry, an industry that I've had a lot of experience in. And knowing that industry, so much of it is about showing up in a way that's interesting, probably more interesting than you feel, probably more intelligent than you believe you to be, and also very competitively, because everything in that industry is about getting an award, one-upping the guy that went before you. And the language that's used then is very descriptive of that. So you often hear about the great awards that somebody has won or the way in which they've helped a client do A, B, or C. And it always seems a little unbelievable. And quite frankly, it probably is because there's a lot of embellishment. But what I find is that, regardless of whether it's advertising or, something completely different, we're defaulting to language that is from an outdated era, a language that, says, we need to grow our revenue. We need to get bigger. We need to go beyond. We need to go outside of the box. All of these sayings or ways of describing things that aren't true anymore, because how can everybody be outside of the box? I mean, in reality, we're kind of then in another box, aren't we? I remember back in the day, we used to talk a lot about disruption when I was in advertising, actually. And then it became the thing. Everything was about disruption. And now we're moving away from that. We found a new word or new language. But I think what's most important is that we find language and words that are true to who we each are, the uniqueness of who you are. The language I find myself really falling into these days is a language that is describing energy and frequency and harmonics, because it's part of who I am. When I'm able to really align with that part of myself and describe things in a way that is using that type of language, other people get it, because it's not about me trying to make it right for them. It's about me making it right for me first and allowing them to then find their path to it. Because language is a bridge for us. It's a way for us to create a common understanding. And so when we use words that we understand, when I use a word that I understand, I can explain to you what that word means for me. You may have a different word for it, and that's okay, but you'll hear my explanation, and in your mind you might hear that word, or maybe you'll have a new definition for the word that I'm using. This is really important in communications. I know it sounds like I'm getting really granular and really specific, and I am, because words matter. Words are the ways in which we find alignment with each other. We find alignment with businesses that we want to work with. We find alignment with clients who want to work with us. And if we are using words that mean things that are different to them, what happens is they hire us for the wrong reason, or we hire them for the wrong reason. We think we know what they're saying, when in fact, we have put our beliefs, our definitions on them. And then we wonder why they don't live up to our expectations. So maybe this is a little bit too technical for most people, most of you out there, and I'd love to hear from you if you've had this experience. Have you actually used a word or a phrase or a way of describing something that you thought was really, really clear, but in the end, you realized that people didn't understand what you were saying? I had this experience. I hired an agency once who we were speaking the same language, or at least I thought. They were our marketing agency. And I sat down with the founder, and we had so much in common. We both had come from similar backgrounds. But even with the same background, the words we were using, I came to find out much later, actually had different meanings. And in the end, what I thought I had hired them for was not what they believed they had been hired for. I thought we were really clear on what we were doing together, but I found out we weren't. And even in the contract, all the things that we said were true, except that the meaning of the words we were using held different meanings for each of us. Now that, I think, is a part 2 of this video. And so if I could leave you with one thing, what I want is for you to start thinking about the words you like to use. Think about how you define them. Ask people if that's a similar definition. Start checking in. When you say something, ask people to tell you what they believe you just asked them or told them. Do a little check-in. You'll be interested to find that a lot of times it's not the same thing. And I'm going to use the words of Stephen Covey because I think he gives us some of the best ways of seeing our world in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And what he said is, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And so ask others, what did you understand that I just said? And then explain what you really meant, or vice versa, say what I believe I heard from you is, and then seek validation that that's what they actually said. I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.